Welcome back to Invincible Innovation Live Show. I'm your host, Adima Zolkario, product design and AI expert, and in this show, we uncover the stories behind the world's most innovative venture. In this episode, we sit down with an AI expert from a leading computer vision startup to explore the exhilarating yet challenging journey of building an AI product within a startup environment. Join us as we gain valuable insight into the trials and triumphs of AI entrepreneurship. Hey, hi Topaz.
Hi, Adi. Thanks for inviting me.
So happy to see you here. Topaz Gilad is a VP of AI, Voyage 81 ODDITY. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion. And I'm so happy to see you here, Topaz. After we had like some challenges, now we can start. Wow.
Yes, eventually.
Wow. So let's start with just understanding what are the unique challenges that AI startup face when they come into creating and deploying an AI product.
Okay, so over the years, I engaged AI research and development in different domains, building and leading algorithmic groups to develop AI solutions at scale. And today at Oddity, AI is at the core of our technology. Oddity is the largest online direct-to-consumer beauty and wellness company in the world. And we pioneered AI for those online markets in three main ways, basically. Product recommendation, match the user with exact right solution. This is super essential in our industry. Second is computer vision, which is my focus at Voyage 81. And three, biotech, using AI-based molecule discovery, same as done in pharma, to just build leading products. So we have basically AI deployed at scale from the online experience all the way through the actual physical product formulation. So to address your question about challenges that AI startup face, this is a landscape that is rapidly evolving, and its challenges, they shift accordingly as well. When I think about it, when I was asked that same question like 2 years ago about the main challenge that AI startup face, my answer was AI being a non-deterministic piece of software, which deviates considerably from the traditional software development where you can code a web buttons functionality with 100% certainty. But when it comes to machine learning, that introduces a confidence tag to your code. And basically, even the whole research preceding the development of the machine learning model is experimental in nature, and that introduces additional uncertainties. But again, those were, I think, primary concerns of several years ago, because partly because that AI frameworks to train and test your models have improved. We have better AI development methodologies and existing APIs as a starting point. So I think today my answer for that question would be different. I think the accessibility of AI has transformed the AI startups landscape considerably, um, basically driven by open source initiatives, public data availability, remote computational solutions. All of those, they present, on the one hand, a great starting point for startups, right? But on the other hand, they introduce a whole new challenge, the extreme rapid emergence of competitors. And let's take, for example, the availability of data assets. uh, I think you had even an episode where you discussed that with Uriel Bayev, and I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that episode, by the way.
thank you.
And one of the things you were talking about, how companies, not necessarily with AI at their core, how can such companies boost their profitability by using existing AI tools? And one of the things that Uri mentioned there was that for such companies, data should not be the main challenge, because if you have enough funding, you can just buy the data assets you need. And this is true, but I think for AI startups, the story is different, because for an AI startup, you have AI at the very core of your offering. So you could buy existing data assets as a starting point. Sometimes you should, but this is not enough. Your own AI offering is only as good as your data.
Right.
So the same way you bought it, your competitors could have.
Yeah, I
So
think that if I'm not mistaken, even I think someone from Google mentioned that they don't have a data moat, and they're I don't I think it's from Google or OpenAI. I'm not sure. I think it was Google that even Google says that with all the data they have, and they have lots of data, right? It's not enough. The fact that they have some kind of data and it's enough for right now, it doesn't promise anything for competitors afterwards.
exactly. So establishing your own unique data asset, this has a profound impact on your positioning. At ODDITY, we have tens of millions of users online and new data points added by the minute. So data is a huge engine. And
Right.
still, unlocking your own unique data assets is important for your positioning. You have to keep maintaining that.
Yeah.
And I think another challenge to consider is that there was a significant shift in the past 2 years in market sentiment. I think I just read in a New York Times that over 3,000 private venture-backed companies have went out of business in the past year alone. And those were companies with considerable funding. The market sentiment transitioned from potential of growth to demanding concrete viability of your business plan. And the emphasis now lies on showcasing the ability to translate AI concepts into actual profits and not years from now, today. So
Yeah.
exciting ideas alone, they are insufficient.
Yeah.
Startup must demonstrate, sustained relevance.
Sure, and I think it's another challenge. The fact that building an AI product is not cheap. You need the data, you need the resources, you need the talent, you need the computational power. It's not easy to do so. So it's not like, yeah, I have a great idea, let's just do it. And more than that, we know that even the most successful companies, I just read that Microsoft loses money over GitHub when you pay 10 per month, 10 US dollars per month. Sometimes on average, it's 20. So they're losing $10 each for each user each month. So it's like tons of money and they know how to do it. And I trust Microsoft how to make money. And I guess they have enough users and data.
Yes, exactly. So profitability becomes super important more than ever before. And you have to create the right business plan to have increasing demand beyond the initial wow factor. So AI startups today must, I think, more than ever before, continually innovate and stay current to avoid obsolescence. And takes for a long-term success that requires strategic differentiation to maintain that competitive edge.
Yeah. I think that most people think, yeah, we would just take this API to OpenAI, whatever, or something like that, and we would build something upon it, kind of easy, and that's it. And apparently it's not that easy. You could do it in order to utilize their power, but if you want to create a business out of it, it's not easy at all.
Exactly, exactly. How, in what way will you stand out?
Yeah. So what are the key factors that contribute to the success of development and deployment of AI products?
Okay, so again, ensuring the successful development and deployment of AI products, that requires a combination of adaptivity on the one hand, together with strategic planning. And to do that successfully and over time, it involves several key factors, but basically, in my opinion, they all revolve around data-driven practices in every decision making. And the Greek philosopher Socrates said that understanding a question is half an answer. So
Right.
at the very basic, ask the right questions. Understand the problem, the pain point that you need to address to deliver impact and value to your target audience. Um, I'll give an example. When Oddity was founded, the traditional beauty market was under the assumptions that users did not transition to shop online simply because they prefer to buy such products in store and consult with a beauty assistant in person. But Oddity's founders, they asked the right questions. Why? Why do users purchase makeup in physical stores? And addressing the core of the pain point, just to figure out that it was not even a choice. The users felt there is no alternative to match, for example, the exact shade of your own skin tone without trying the foundation first in store. And
Right.
it was not that they did not prefer to buy online, they simply did not have a viable alternative. So unlocking that, developing the technology to solve that pain point made Oddity's first brand, Il Maquillage, as massive as it is today. So
Yeah.
really important to understand the core of the
Yeah.
pain point.
What you're saying is touching my heart because I come from design and product, right? And most people, when they think about AI, they think about these like AI scientists coming and doing their stuff, right? But actually, the success is related to understanding the need, to understanding the user, to understanding
So true.
what we're going to build. And I think that even it's always related to technology. High tech is like 99% people come from technology, and more than that, in AI, it's like data and all of these like model building and all of that. It looks really complicated, and the statistics model and all of that. But actually, the core key factor is understanding the need. Afterwards, you need to solve it, and it's not easy to solve it. It's not that I'm underestimating the problem that needs to be solved, but you need to understand what you're doing, right? And most
Exactly.
people think like, yeah, we would use this technology and it's a buzzword, we'll get money.
Exactly. Not every technology is applicable to solve a specific problem in the best way. So the key is first to understand the problem. And asking the right question, as you said, is at the basis of a successful business, but it should also guide the day-to-day R&D decisions. When I interview, especially for team lead positions, one of the most important points for me are not necessarily the answer a candidate gives, is the questions they ask. Do they ask the right questions? Do they ask about the connection between the AI model performance and the business goal? Do they ask to be presented with relevant metric? And when presented with model performance, what are the follow-up questions that they ask to fully understand the implications? So again, ask the right question. This is number one. But secondly, you need to understand the metrics because when you're presented with figures, for example, something like we have an anomaly detection model and we are 98% accurate. We have 98% accuracy. Question what the metric can and cannot reveal, what it means. I mean, if you have a test set of 100 users, among them two have anomaly behavior, and you have now a model that deterministically, no matter what, says there is no anomaly, what will be the accuracy you will receive on such a test set? What will it tell you? So again, what the metric can and cannot reveal. And if we'll take
Yeah.
an analogy to business KPIs, you do not only consider net profits on its own, you consider that alongside with sales revenue. So assessing AI models, that requires asking the right questions and understanding the comprehensive picture, and that can only be conveyed by multiple metrics.
Yeah. And I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the way an AI startup is different than usual startups, that you have code and you have product and you have UX, and it's like working together in different way, because today someone who comes from understanding the product or from the UX need to ask different question and to get different answers from the AI team and from the data analyst or the data scientist, whoever. It's like a new way of working together.
True, they definitely need to understand each other's language, and a lot of that comes from conversational numbers. You talk about metrics all the time in order to understand and align expectations. So you really need to understand that language and understand what it can and cannot reveal. And not only select the right metric, that is crucial, but equally important is choosing the appropriate test set of measurement. This is often overlooked by product teams and stakeholders. I mean, yes, early alignment on metrics during the research phase, it's super important, but must be complemented by a comprehensive understanding of the target audience and the distribution of expected input data, creating test sets that reflect the diversity of user segments and considering factors, even technical factors, for example, in computer vision, like camera models or user attributes such as age, and all of that just provides a more accurate prediction of the overall performance that you could expect and just ensures the AI model's relevance to the actual intended audience. So when presented with figures, ask the right question. How was that measured? Was it tested on relevant data that reflects your actual audience? Do those metrics reflect the actual impact on business? So basically, to
Yeah.
conclude, ask the right questions, identify your pain point that you need to address, know your numbers, understand the metrics, and use several metrics to reveal the full picture, and know your audience and make sure to measure your model with relevant test sets as possible. And those are essential for successful AI product development and deployment processes.
Yeah. So I want to ask about how do you do the understanding of the users? Because you get lots of data from the users, of course. So you get the data. How do you make sure that you understand it well? Do you talk to these users other than just getting what they need from the application itself?
So, from my experience, it really is different if you are a B2B or a B2C company. Do you have
Mhm.
an outreach for like direct to consumer, or do you have a specific business that alpha and beta users that are in continuous collaboration with you, and that will affect the way that you will gain those insights from users. But yes,
Sure.
you have the ability to have surveys, mockups, A/B testing, um, in many, many ways to engage early on with the potential users in order to understand who your target audience really is.
Yeah, even if you're a B2B, it's in the end there is a C somewhere from the B, somewhere somebody
True,
pays for it. So I think that in many cases, when you think about AI, people think, okay, we get the data, we have the data because people interact, so we have the data, we understand it, so this is what they need. We just tweak it a bit, and then it's working. But just understanding why they decided something is really important. Why did people decide to live in the middle? What does that mean for
true,
them? For example, which is like a very important factor in most cases. So it's really important. And another thing that you mentioned is the solution and the value you bring needs to be very impactful for the company, right? So they're investing so much money, they need, of course, to have the revenues that fit the amount of investment, right?
true,
So in that case, you mentioned that people who will make more purchases online, they could elaborate that market that will get the revenues that justify the investment, right? And in some cases, you have a great solution, but you don't have enough, like a big market or a big solution that is enough in order to gain the traction and the results that you need in order to build that.
true. True.
And,
This
and
is
so,
why it's so important to know the market ahead and have those tests before you dive into extensive AI development.
yeah, and in some cases, startups decide to do something else. They start in one way, and then they say, "Okay, this market is not enough for me. My solution needs a bigger market, a different market, or whatever." And they're changing their direction in the middle. So it happens a lot in that case. And I think that in AI, I guess it happens even more because the you invest so much, you have a solution, and you have lots of competition in many cases, and you need to find your niche, and the solution needs to fit exactly to the users that you need, I guess. Did you do that in your company, just trying to find at the beginning, or from the beginning you knew that that's the problem you're going to solve?
So definitely Voyage 81 has transitioned from several different domains over the years. So sure, I think every startup experienced that in the beginning, and actually sometimes even larger circumstances change, and this just goes back to my initial point about balancing between adaptivity and strategic planning. So you need to be flexible to change in conditions and emerging opportunities to seize those.
Yeah, I think that in general, flexibility is the biggest power for a startup because they could be flexible and change really fast. And if you just take it in parallel to bigger companies or to enterprise, changing so hard for a bigger company, and startup could use that. So how do you navigate the complexities of developing AI product within a dynamic and fast-paced environment of startups?
Yeah, so this is probably the most common topic I'm being approached by founders and R&D managers to consult about. I think it is even such a common pain point that I actually had a chance to give not only talks but full workshops dedicated to this topic alone.
Yeah,
So I will highlight just a few concepts. There are some corporates with AI teams that perform research for the sake of research, but in startups, however, every piece of research is applied science. It has to be translatable to a real impact at scale and in the real world. And so you have to have like a unified focus on the business goals. And one of the best ways to start is bringing aboard a product manager early on. Some founders, they do not include product lead as part of the core team for a long while. And when they finally do, the AI teams are usually out of her or his scope. And there is a well familiar Gartner report that states that only half of AI projects make it to production. So make sure product and AI teams have an ongoing interface to avoid development of isolated black box solutions without concrete timelines. So
right.
first, AI and product interactions. This is the first key. And I think the second thing should be balance your sure wins with the big swings. You need to, on the one hand, foster momentum by utilizing low hanging fruits of existing AI framework or APIs or your own already existing AI models already deployed in production for those quick improvements. But I think it was the artist Salvador Dali that said that intelligence without ambition is a bird without wings. So those low hanging fruit, they can only take you so far. You have to simultaneously allocate a significant portion of your AI team's efforts to explore innovative, high impact solutions. And yes, those big swings, they will take longer, they have larger risk, but they will provide a unique differentiator for positioning your startup ahead of the competition.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
AI and product interaction and balancing sure wins and big swings, those are
yeah,
the first
yeah.
keys.
What you mentioned about the when you bring this product person, he's not like really attached or even like managing, or it's not really, there is the not a clear connection between the AI and the development in general, but AI
True.
specifically with the product. It means like a product is like, yeah, he would set the strategy, he would talk to the clients, we'll do our job. It will take longer or shorter. It's very complex. It takes our time. Like it's like two different, even separated directions that the company is facing. And in that case, you're saying, okay, it's not to, it's like one unique solution that needs to work hand in hand in that case.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because otherwise, you will not adapt in time. And as you said, the whole research cycle for AI development takes longer than just traditional software. They
Right.
need a larger lead time. So they need to understand all the pivots and adaptations and changes really, really early on to make sure everybody are fully aligned with the most updated business goals.
Right.
And I think that's another common problem with AI teams is that we tend to get attached to ideas, to a specific research direction. When one experiment does not go as planned, we learn, adapt, fix, try again, and that's okay. But sometimes you need to consider stopping the iterations and rethink the whole concept. Consider what are the indications for stop criteria, how to recognize when a particular research direction hits a roadblock, and just be willing to recalibrate your course of action. And I think that this mindset encourages also agility and just prevents unnecessary investment in fruitless directions. So also
Yeah.
do not get attached.
Yeah, and I think that people who are working within AI teams are a bit different than I would say software developers. It's a different type of people, I guess. And what you're saying, they're getting attached because they're doing research and that's their job. And as long as you don't have someone who would say, okay, that's the stop criteria, it doesn't exist in the company, they just continue with their job because they're doing what they're supposed to do. And if they don't have a product, they don't have any like thresholds or guidelines, or they're working and they're doing something, but it's not really focused, laser focused to the direction that the company wants to go to, right?
True. I love that phrase, laser focused, really.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, it's hard um, for the company to move, let's say, working like half a year more or less without a product, to really be emphasis on a product person coming and defining everything, and then somebody comes after half a year. It's a long time for a startup. Maybe for another company, it's like nothing. For a startup, half a year is lots of time, and
True.
then you come and then it's like you need to redefine the processes from the beginning, and it's kind of hard sometimes, I guess.
I definitely agree. I think it's definitely worthwhile to bring uh, a product lead really early on in the very early stages of a startup, specifically when you have AI involved.
So if somebody would ask you, who are the people you have to have in the startup from the beginning? So you mentioned product, what, like a data scientist, a data analyst, or what would be the list of people that you would say is a must for a AI startup?
So again, I think for AI startups specifically, then data scientists are crucial, but you would prefer someone that has strong software abilities, because at the very start point, you will have, demos and more of proof of concepts, and you need the ability to quickly integrate with either existing APIs and checking existing frameworks. And there's a lot of build up to do. So definitely you should bring someone with more of let's call it data engineering skills combined with the data science. And I think data analytics could come later on, and sometimes you have also people with a lot of background in product that are also engaged and have experience with data analytics. So I think those work really well together.
I see. So you mentioned that even the product person needs to come from data. It doesn't matter if you're from analytics or really building an AI product. He needs to have this, like, the way that he looks at things comes from the data point of view. That's what you're saying.
It's not a necessity, but I definitely think it is an advantage.
Yeah. So in your experience, what is the most common misconceptions about building AI products?
I love that question. There are so many. So I think that a common misconception suggests that AI development is such a complex and uncertain research effort that it is practically impossible to set deadlines or work in sprints. And having experienced that mindset myself early in my career, and mentoring various teams since, I confidently state today that breaking down challenging research tasks into subtasks with due dates is not only feasible, but it's essential. Without a structured approach, the research process can diverge and lead to a loss of direction and progress, and potentially derailing an entire project. So definitely, yes, you could break the vague research project into subtasks and set due dates. And I think another misconception from a different direction is that there is a belief that AI serves as a magical solution, and it could be applicable to every problem, especially stakeholders that are unfamiliar with AI development. They can wrongly assume that successful approaches in specific domains or under controlled lab conditions can effortlessly be imported into real world with identical results with no effort. And I often come across this misconception when advising startups that are at a scale up phase, transitioning from a proof of concept or demo to one big client into a larger scale in real world conditions. And one company I remember they had a very successful deployment of their model in a real store, one store, and then the client wished to scale to additional five, and the performance was not as good because overfitting and fine tuning to the one store could not hold true for all the five if they did not design for scale to begin with. So, there's this misconception that you plug and play to scale up, and it fails to account for crucial factors like variability of the real world conditions and challenges of collecting clean, reliable data in the real world, or the computational resources that are required in production, constraints for latency. So it's just crucial to recognize that every AI solution just involves a trade-off, and one size fits all rarely holds true when you scale up.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that in general startups learn as they go, but maybe in the case of AI startup, we have less examples to set our expectations from, because many people who's been like part of the high tech industry, they've done a few products and they know more or less how to do it. But in that case, not many people have done several AI products and learned from the way, or they have like experience that they could get from someone else, and then they fail and learn from failing and not from getting the information and knowledge from someone else.
I think it's not only about the experience, it's just the eagerness to not miss out on opportunities that is
Mm,
partly contributing to that. And I think another related misconception is the misguided tendency to develop numerous models, again, to seize opportunity, but without planning for the maintenance and support of already released ones. This is, I mean, unlike a piece of code that can maintain performance independently, AI models, they require ongoing attention. And real world data evolves and trends change, and the relevance of models fluctuates accordingly. So it's really imperative to allocate time and resources for the continuous maintenance of every released model throughout its full lifespan. And when
yeah,
AI models are involved, there is absolutely no set and forget. I can share an example of a classical outcome of releasing AI model and just set and forget. Years ago, as an AI developer at a new company, I came across a surprising statistic. Some feature that was once really popular in the company's portfolio had a huge decrease in demand, and I was curious as to why. So I dug deeper. I like doing that. And I found out that the model now performs badly. And when debugging and looking deeper, it became clear that the data assumptions of the model no longer holds. And the adjustment was super easy to implement, and the performance was back as high as it was when the new feature was just released. So this whole drop in demand could have been easily avoided. And now you had to gain the user's trust again with this feature. So
it's
with
hard.
AI, no set and forget. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely should vigilantly monitor production data to detect shifts, identify the trends as they emerge as early as possible, and even implement automation to test those assumptions and streamline the process of identifying these changes in data patterns. So
yeah.
proactive monitoring just enhances the adaptability of AI models of evolving circumstances and safeguards you against potential performance issues.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that this is a big difference than regular software. That at the beginning you find all the bugs, and afterwards, yeah, it's fine. It's
Stable.
deployed, right? Yeah, so it's working. We don't need to take care of it. And you're just saying, okay, what like the people would not change that much. What would be the difference afterwards? But on the other hand, we have more and more tools to monitor these models right now, and we didn't have that. We've done it manually in the past, so it's important to just take that into consideration.
Exactly true.
So I think that we mentioned the difference between regular startup or a regular software and an AI model. Do you think that there is something else that we did not talk about the difference from a regular startup to an AI startup that we need to know in advance?
So I think if you're talking about, the unique nature of the deep tech startups, I think it is a good question that I wish product teams would ask more often. I had a chance to consult different companies that transitioned into AI-based solutions without considering the required adaptation to support that transition. And in an AI product creation cycle, you have to validate the product strategy early on, preferably even before initiating the AI development. And contrary, there are many non-AI software features you could develop in a short amount of time, deploy, see if the users like it or not, remove the feature if not well adapted, repeat. But with a new AI model, this will not be cost effective. So before diving into big AI research and development cycle, just validate your assumptions early on and ensure that that AI solution that you're planning really addresses an actual pain point and validate the user willingness to embrace that feature. And as we said, mockups, A/B testing, user focus groups, essentially just assess the viability of the receptivity to that new feature because receptivity is super important when it comes to AI. It's important to design the user AI interaction early on. And I think if I have to give an example, I think like the Israeli Ways navigation app is a great example of such a user-centric design, simple, intuitive, rewarding. They, they cleverly integrated gamification elements, turning the user information contribution, right? The user contributes information into a collaborative and rewarding experience. So in computer vision, especially, where you also have images part of that interaction, it should feel even more intuitive and then align well with expectations.
Yeah.
And for computer vision, I love visuals. There is a reason computer vision is my favorite discipline among the different fields of AI. From a very young age, I was always drawn to art and painting, colors, design. There is something super exciting about strong visuals. This is something
Right.
that you should leverage when considering computer vision outputs as part of your product ideation and integration. So by
Right.
prioritizing visual clarity, you basically can create a bridge between sophisticated technology, tons of information from your models inside, and the user comprehension. So I think a well-designed, polished UX ensures the user can easily engage with the insight gained by the AI model.
Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, I worked with Waze. They were one of my customers in the past. So I totally agree that that's a good example for just setting exactly what needs to be done. And when you know from the beginning what would be clear for the users, you could build something that would be um, accommodating to their needs. Do you find that AI startups really start from the product in most cases, or in some cases? Did you see that?
I think um, not enough. I think it should definitely, it is a pain point for many startups. I think when it starts with a product, it just basically start with a vague need, not not well defined, with no really clear understanding of the full interaction. And that will eventually lead to you having an AI model with great powers that gives you tons of information if you are unable to fit it in and reason it with the user expectation, interaction, and so on. So you need to think on that in advance because that can influence your entire AI creation strategy. You may design the outputs that you require from the AI completely different.
Yeah. But when you need to build something, let's say a POC, you need to really have some kind of a model. It could be through an API that someone else built, but whoever, but you need to really have an interaction that is flowing. And it's not enough to have a good idea. It needs to really work, right? And if it's
True.
not really working well, so it's like I feel like it's a chicken and an egg some way, somewhere in that context. Because you're thinking about a product and then it needs to really work. And so you need the model, but you need the product and you need the model, and like just making
Yeah,
sure it
yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah. But you can have for a certain model different user stories to accompany the different scenarios that you can face, right?
Hmm.
The model also has like certainty or confidence, and you can mitigate that through different user journeys. If you are really certain about the outcome, you can interact in a certain way. If you're not, you can move to a different user story. So I think again, the combination with well-designed product and interaction is super important here, and it helps to mitigate that.
So, do you see how do you see the future of AI startup evolving, and what role do you think it will play driving technology and innovation across various industries?
So I believe that AI will be incorporated in almost any offering. Every company will use AI one way or the other, but not all will develop in-house innovative AI solutions of their own. So when analyzing trends of computational resources, most companies will invest more in inference. And only companies with unique AI offerings at their core will actually train models. And I believe that again, large corporates developing their own AI solutions are likely to still dominate the landscape of general one size fits all solutions. But in contrast, I believe that AI startups will be at the front of specific industries, particularly, in my opinion, those where unique data, domain expertise are key. Human centric experience, personalization, I think those will be at the core of AI startups. And I think a great example is the field of telehealth and wellness. And I think this is something, an example that also came up when in one of the podcast episodes with David Shapiro, you
Yeah,
mentioned
right.
there are two types of interaction with a patient and a doctor, diagnosis and treatment. But sometimes it's almost impossible to have a routine interaction with your doctor. I mean,
Sure.
personally, I can remember, especially remember one time that my doctor prescribed me certain treatment for sore throat and sent me to do a lab test to better adjust the treatment according to the results. And the results arrived during the weekend when my clinic was closed. So it turned out I was on the wrong treatment for an additional, 2 full days for absolutely no reason. So in many
Yeah,
cases, patients go through treatment at home with no guidance. And now consider that the 24/7 availability and accessibility of AI enhanced tools. So I think
yeah,
the human-centric experience and personalization will be really, really at the front for AI startups.
yeah,
But I think the great leaps forward will come from the collaboration between corporates and startups. I think startups will bring fresh innovation, agility, niche expertise, and larger companies will provide the resources, scalability, and market reach. And such partnerships, in my opinion, will be at the core of the next big technological revolutions. And in essence, I think the future of AI startups really lies on their ability to offer specialized cutting edge solutions.
yeah. And what you mentioned about like enterprise, they have their own like values and they have the resources and they have the capabilities. And if we're saying about tech enterprise, it could be like creating foundational models. And if we're saying about non-tech, we're talking about all the data that they have from their clients and customers. And startups, they have the capability to just understand a specific problem and to go and to drill into that specific niche and to find the solution in that context. But you mentioned something about the doctor, and that it's like it's a good use case because most people would think, okay, we would not need doctors, right? So we'd have that online. It's like when everyone feels something, they go to Google and there is a solution in Google. So only just nicer, and he would talk to me and he will understand me and maybe know my history and what was wrong with me like 2 years ago. But I think that what you mentioned is enhancing the experience of you still have a doctor, but it's
True.
always available. And you can interact with your psychiatrist, with your therapist, with your doctor, with your lawyer, whoever. But when you need something really essential, like really talking to someone, I'm not sure that an AI would just eliminate therapy, for example.
Yeah, I agree. I think in many fields that it's not like AI will take over the entire field completely. It will enhance and boost and improve the accessibility of certain services. It will transform the way we consume certain services, but it will not totally replace the human in the loop.
Yeah, and what we mentioned, we mentioned wellness, and we talked about therapy, and we talked about medicine, and so forth. The connection with the person cannot be replaced. So it could be enhanced, but could you really feel not alone if we're talking to a device? I don't know. I think that we still need someone that really at least see, if we don't really see them in front of us, at least see them like online, at least to
Yeah,
feel
I
that
mean,
there is a
definitely
person.
you could do that interview with some kind of bot, right? But
Right.
it definitely feels different when you communicate with another person. And I think a part of that is also like the nuance of human interaction that is still not at the same level for even complex AI systems. And we still want that. We still want that feeling of someone that really understands those nuances when
Yeah.
talking to us.
Yeah. I think that it's more than just understanding. I think that there is something with two people talking that is so natural and inherent in our human experience that we just feel engaged and we want to do it. And we could do it with a bot or that even has a face and talks to us, and it wouldn't feel the same, I guess.
For now.
maybe maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're almost done. I have like my last question, and it's a question that I usually ask like in the end. I'm so curious to see what you're saying. So what's your number one tip for AI entrepreneurs today?
Oh, so I think you should recognize that data is your most powerful engine. Establish a clear roadmap for acquiring, securing, strategically utilizing data as the foundation for growth. And I think this approach will pave the way for the development of new products and the identification of fresh opportunities that the data itself will reveal. And we talked about it that today very powerful AI tools and frameworks are accessible. So to stand out, you need to supercharge those very powerful AI tools, existing or in-house developed, with your own unique data. And so even at the earliest stages of startup development, you need to consider investing in a data warehouse. I think it's a decision that you'll appreciate down the line and encourage all divisions in your company, not just R&D, to contribute to that, because every piece of data in the data puzzle that can become a valuable asset and lead to innovation in unforeseen directions. So in essence, viewing unique data as a strategic asset and managing it effectively to fully utilize its current and future potential.
Wow. So first, I think that we said the word data about like 1,000 times in this. So apparently, it's important for AI startups. But I want to say to you that it was very insightful, and I learned a lot from talking to you. So I want to say thank you for the time, and I'm sure that other people that would listen would learn a lot from that. So thank you, Topaz, for that.
Thanks, Adi, for inviting me.
Sure. And could you tell us how could people reach out and contact you if they have any additional questions?
Sure, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. That's the best way.
Yeah, you have a wonderful name, Topaz Gilad. Nobody could really compete with that.
Thank you.
So, Topaz, thank you for your time. It's been very insightful, and thanks, and have a really good luck with your product.
Thanks, Adi.
Thank you. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. And if you found this episode valuable, just share it. And I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya. Bye bye.